Welcome to Matters Financial with Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you as always for stopping by. Hope you had a great weekend as well. Let me start with macro thoughts. On the 7th of September, I wrote the dollar is seriously weaponized, the US economy is blowing hot. And to it, this data set is quite interesting from Bloomberg. It's about the amount of dollar usage in the world as a percentage when you compare it with other currencies. It's still predominant. And a stronger US dollar and the global cost of capital rising is the perfect cocktail, in our opinion, for a liquidity crunch. And I spoke about that as well before, saying that, before the world was being showered in a golden flood of dollar liquidity, and essentially the shower's been switched off. US 10-year Treasury yield hits a fresh 7-year high at 3.24%. And this is something I was also speaking about in the article I wrote a decade after Lehman. So I continue to see the dollar probing higher. And I think there's a significant amount left in this move. Home thoughts: the essences of things are suspended on the invisible dimension whose vibrance has been denied the human eye at all times, save in the intuition of ecstasy, hard crane. In effect, when you gaze at a bright full moon shining in the sky, you're probably seeing the lunar orb at its most electric, and it is indeed magnetic at its most electric. I don't know anything with certainty, but seeing the stars makes me dream Vincent van Gogh, and this is by Hajime Namiki, Night of Stars and Comets. Everyone was talking about Banksy and discussing modern art, and I still rate Mark Rothko. And this is an oil on canvas, creamy tangerine heat radiates from Mark Rothko's oil on canvas. We have not experienced this situation in the past, where a painting spontaneously shredded upon achieving a near record for the artist. Banksy tells Channel 4 News the urge to destroy is also a creative urge, after the shredding of his £1 million work last night at auction, which I quite liked. It's a girl with a balloon. Political reflections: this is a video of Gabon's President Ali Bongo voting in municipal and legislative elections boycotted by the opposition leader Jean-Ping. Secretary Pompeo met with Chairman Kim Jong-un in Pyongyang on October the 7th. This is a short video of them walking down a corridor. So, US power projection in Africa now involves a khaki-clad First Lady going on holiday to Kenya to pat a small elephant. How is Beijing going to handle this escalation, asks Edward Crockley. I have covered floaters for almost 2 years and have never seen her smile and laugh more than she is now with these baby elephants. And in this photograph, she's looking towards the zebras as she visits Nairobi National Park in Kenya. And I take you back to my piece, Tariff Wars, a chicky run, who blinks first, and it still applies. Pence obviously ratcheted the pressure higher with his speech at the Hudson Institute. Saudi Crown Prince had a wide-ranging discussion about Trump, Saudi Aramco, and arrests. The transcript was published by Bloomberg. So if President Trump is doing other things that you want, you don't mind him saying these incredibly rude things about your father. Well, you have to accept that any friend will say good things and bad things, so you cannot have 100% friends saying good things about you. Even in your family, you will have some misunderstanding, so we put it in that category. It's totally different. Canada, they gave an order to Saudi Arabia on an internal issue. It's not an opinion of Canada about Saudi Arabia as much as they are giving an order to a different country. So we believe this is a totally different issue. Trump is speaking to his own people inside the United States of America about an issue. And you've got the answer now from me. Then asking, it does seem to be his opinion that the kingdom should pay more for its security. Do you agree with that? Actually, we will pay nothing for our security. We believe that all the armaments we have from the US are paid for. It's not free armament. So ever since the relationship started between Saudi Arabia and the United States of America, we've bought everything with money. Before 2 years ago, we had a strategy to shift most of our armament to other countries. But when President Trump became president, we've changed our armament strategy again for the next 10 years to put more than 60% with the United States. I love working with him. I really like working with him, and we have achieved a lot in the Middle East, especially against extremism, he says. And then talking about the request regarding oil, saying that essentially they've made up any of the shortfall, and that we're around 10.7 million barrels, if I'm not mistaken, and that they have spare capacity of 1.3 million without any investment. He's asked if he's ever driven a Tesla. I never did that. I've seen Tesla a lot. I just rode in one with King Abdullah of Jordan. Have you ever driven one? No. Now, Turkish police believe that the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi was killed in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. If true, this would be an abysmal new low, says Lynn Malouf. Such an assassination within the grounds of the consulate, which is territory under Saudi Arabian jurisdiction, would amount to an extrajudicial execution. To the point about Trump, I think the King of Saudi Arabia serves at the pleasure of the President of the United States, and that was agreed on February 1945 when Roosevelt met with King Abdulaziz of Saudi Arabia in person aboard the USS Quincy. And that was the grand bargain between the US and the Saudi king, established that oil would always be denominated in dollars. Then folks from Saddam Hussein to Chavez of Venezuela, now the High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs, Federica Maria Mogherini, have all sought to break the chokehold of the petrodollar. 13th of November, I wrote a piece around the capture of a 32-year-old wannabe king. I said this is an unprecedented moment in the history of the kingdom and the most perilous moment for the House of Saud that I can recall. Bruce Riedel, Brookings Institution's intelligence project leader, reported that the prince is so afraid for his life that he's taken to spending nights on his yacht in the Red Sea port of Jeddah. From that, let me take you to this extraordinary English filmmaker called Adam Curtis, who has a little clip called Shapeshifting. It's an excerpt from Hypernormalization. Talks of the political technologists like Vladislav Surkov. In his spare time, Surkov writes essays on conceptual art and lyrics for rock groups. He's an aficionado of gangster rap. There's a picture of Tupac on his desk next to the picture of Putin. Putin's chief ideologue and grey cardinal, Vladislav Surkov, the Kremlin demiurge, known also as the puppet master, who privatized the Russian political system. Surkov is the real genius of the Putin era. Understand him and you understand not only contemporary Russia, but a new type of power politics, a breed of authoritarianism far subtler than the 20th century strains. have a look at Trump versus the system, hypernormalization. That's another short video clip. They persecuted Jesus, and look what happened. Bill Cosby's publicist tells reporters after Cosby was sentenced to 3 to 10 years for sexual assault. Brian Koppelman says, which apostle held the Quaaludes? I was writing in September that there are no more Quaaludes and policymakers will no longer be able to pop them. In prescribed doses, Quaaludes promotes relaxation, sleepiness, and sometimes a feeling of euphoria. Let's move on to the currency markets. Euro dollar 115.08, dollar index 95.59, Japanese yen 113.83, Swiss franc 0.9915, the pound 131.07, the Australian dollar 0.7060, India rupee 73.875, South Korean won 1132.25, Brazilian real 383.93, Egyptian pound 17.9065, and the South African rand 14.7842. Dollar index, my target remains 100, currently at 95.59. Euro dollar, my target is parity in point of fact. We're currently at 115.08. Like Lehman, we think the deception is about to catch up with Tesla. This is green light capital. Elon Musk's erratic behavior suggests that he sees it the same way. He can't make the car without losing too much money. He can't bring himself to cancel the program and refund everyone's deposits. The upshot, Musk is trying to get himself fired, Ivan said. Quitting isn't an option because it prevents Mr. Musk from claiming he could have fixed the problem stayed. Tencent just dipped below 300 Hong Kong dollars for the first time since July 2017, a massive level. Commodity markets, gold, according to T Commodity, is still coiling inside a tight range, but it's drifted lower, 1196 and change. On a weekly basis, it posted a shooting star, which is bearish. This is T Commodity interpreting Brent crude oil. WTI crude oil, $73.74. That's come off a little bit as well. Emerging markets, lastly, the correction in the JP Morgan EM FX Vol Index seems to have ended and a new uptrend underway. Given the impulse nature of a move, at the very least, year-to-date highs should be on the table, saying that after a period of relative calm, these emerging market currencies are beginning to see pressure again. Pakistan liquid FX reserves with the central bank are now at $8.4 billion, the lowest since December 2014. Pakistan rupee, although managed holding support at lows, made post-election euphoria. Consolidation not over, biases to the upside, and the $20-36 bond yields, that correction seems to be coming to an end as well. My piece over the weekend was referencing the World Bank's Africa Pulse report, in which they said the road ahead is bumpy. Economic growth in sub-Saharan Africa is estimated to have picked up to 2.7% in 2018 from 2.3% in 2017. This is the key point, barely above population growth. The region's economic recovery continues, but at a slower pace than expected, 0.4 percentage points lower than the April forecast, due to a downward growth revisions in the three largest economies in the region. The road ahead is bumpy. Of course, the three biggest economies, South Africa, Nigeria, and Angola, make up 50% of sub-Saharan African GDP, weighed on economic activity. And I found this data point interesting. Countries with economic performance that lost steam in 2015 to 2018 relative to 1995 to 2008 represent about 1/3 of the region's population and nearly 60% of its economic activity. Their median rate of GDP growth decelerated from 5.4% in that 95-08 period to 1.2% 2015 to 2018. This group includes the three largest countries in the region, Nigeria, South Africa, and Angola, and has an average GDP per capita of $2,696. Half of sub-Saharan Africa, from Buhari to Lorenzo to Ramaphosa, is firing blanks, and all are looking around for a silver bullet. Growth in the rest of the region was broadly steady, but performance varied across countries. Economic activity remained solid in the fast-growing, non-resource-rich countries such as Côte d'Ivoire, Kenya, Rwanda, supported by agricultural production and services on the production side, and household consumption and public investment on the demand side. A sub-Saharan African economist has also got to be an accomplished meteorologist because rains have an outsized effect on GDP and well-being. Good rains have underpinned GDP in this part of Africa and popped it. During 2012 to 2017, government debt is estimated to have increased by more than 20 percentage points in the region. Debt rose in about 2/5 of the countries in 2017 and was above 60% of GDP in 1/3 of the countries. Clearly, even the latest fashion of supersizing one's GDP, a la Ghana and Zimbabwe, the debt trajectory is not sustainable. At the end of 2017, 8 countries, Chad, Eritrea, Mozambique, Republic of Congo, Somalia, South Sudan, Sudan, and Zimbabwe, were classified as in debt distress under the World Bank IMF debt sustainability framework. Additionally, the previous moderate ratings for the Gambia, Zambia, and Ethiopia more recently were changed to high risk of debt distress. What we know is the dominoes are set to fall. One domino that has suddenly tipped over is Zimbabwe. Reuters reported that people again formed long queues to fill up their cars in the capital, with others panic buying basic goods like cooking oil and sugar. There are $9.3 billion of zollars in the banks compared to $200 million in reserves, official data showed. A mismatch that creates a premium for the US dollar and fans the black market. On the black market, the premium for the US dollar spiked to a new record on Saturday, reaching 165% from 120% on Monday, traders said. That means buying $100 in cash via a bank transfer cost $265, up from $220 earlier this week. The government's voodoo economics, where it spent $1.3 billion priming the economy ahead of the election, money it did not have, was the straw that broke the camel's back. So confident of another 7-year term is the 85-year-old that he has really left his home village of Vomeka during the campaign, says Africa Confidential. This polling station in Buea is empty. No voters, no ballot papers, no ballot boxes. Voting was supposed to start at 8 a.m. local time. By Quartz Africa's count, 51 African leaders were in Beijing compared to 27 in New York for UNGA. On the 3rd of September, I wrote a piece about the bell at the ball, and I said just about everyone is trooped off to China to make win-win music with Xi Jinping in his forum on China-Africa cooperation gig. People, again, as I said, formed long queues to fill up their cars in the capital, with others panic buying basic goods like cooking oil and sugar. Zimbabwe spends $80 million on fuel imports every month. The central bank governor says he's now released $40 million. A new king for the Congo. This is a little bit of a story from New York Books of V.S. Naipaul. It appears to be a nonsense name. This is Zaire. A 16th century Portuguese corruption, some Zerrois will tell you, of a local word for river. So it is as if Taiwan, reasserting its Chinese identity, were again to give itself the Portuguese name of Formosa. The Congo River is now called the Zaire, as is the local currency, which is almost worthless. Even if average growth levels were to hit 4% this year, this translates into just 1% in GDP per head because of the region's high birth rate. Lungu's government is caught up in a similar combination of rising debt obligations, grand corruption, as well as overpriced state procurement and massive exposure to Chinese project finance debt. I like this from Gado. Zambia is a sovereign state. South African all shares down 8.56% this year. Dollar versus Rand 17.7842 was a great sell around 14. Egyptian pound 17.9065. Nigerian all share down 15.32%. Ghana Stock Exchange up 13.51% this year. The Kenya shilling has appreciated by 2.2% year to date. Nairobi all shares down 11.87% year to date. Last week, NSC, there were some large gains. EABL up 5.6%, Co-op up 5.3%, KCB up 9.4%, Barclays up 4.4%. The NSC is trading at a PE ratio of 12.4 and a dividend yield of 4.8. NSC 20 is down 22.82%. During the week, the yields on both the 10 and 30-year Eurobonds gained by 0.4 and 0.3 points to 7.9 and 8.9% respectively. Private sector credit growth, despite improving to 4.3% in August from 3.9% in May, still remains below the 5-year historical average of 13%. Once again, thank you for stopping by.